Hello, everybody. My name is Kitty, and I'll be your host for today's class. Actually, it's a demo. Pedro Loureiro is going to be showing us just a little bit of an intro to what is the third part of our figure drawing course series. So if you have questions for Pedro, please put them in the chat in all capital letters so that I can see them better. If those questions are relevant to what he's doing at the moment, I will ask at that time. If not, I'm going to hold off some of those questions until the end when we do our question and answer session. Also into the chat, I'm going to drop the link to the reference photo. And let's see, somebody is already asking what materials should I prepare? If you go to the description under the video, everything you need should be right there. So let me go ahead and put that link to the reference photo in there for you. Here we are. Oh, and great. Let's see. We have people from Minnesota and Seattle. Oh, it's actually sunny in Seattle. Nice. Central PA, Puerto Rico. Welcome, everybody. All right. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Pedro, who's going to tell us more about what we're going to do today.
All right. Thank you so much, Kitty. And welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's going to be a short but hopefully awesome drawing session, a drawing demo. You can follow along if you like. I'm usually a little bit speedy on my sketching, but you're welcome to follow along and follow my instructions. And you have the reference photo, I presume. And I apologize in advance because I'm a little bit allergic. I'm a little bit like hay feverish, so I might sneeze every once in a while or cough every once in a while. So apologies in advance. And so let's get down to it.
Pedro?
So, yes?
I'm going to interrupt you for just 1 second because I forgot to say something. Everybody, please stay to the end because we are doing a giveaway for a pack of postcards.
Nice.
Okay, that was it.
Those paintable postcards, right?
Yes. Yep, they're watercolor postcards, 100% cotton.
I have a few of those. I actually have to test them out still. I haven't tested them out yet. Yikes. Embarrassing. Anyway, here we go. So as Kitty mentioned, this is going to be a little bit of a teaser for part 3 of the figure sketching course. So it's been an ongoing series. So part 1 and part 2 were released more or less at the same time, and like almost one after the other. And this is the long-awaited part 3, where we're going to delve a little bit deeper on some aspects of drawing human figures. So it's going to be mainly. Oh, wait. Should I, Kitty? Should I talk about the course first, or should I talk about the course after the?
You know what? Why don't you? Because that way people can get an idea of basically what they're watching.
Okay, gotcha.
Like what the teaser is for. I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so cool. I'm just going to keep it short, just like a small thumbnail description of the course, and then we can talk a little bit further down the road after the demo. So it's going to be this course is going to mostly grasp on 2 main subjects. So one is going to be human expressions. So people expressions. So happy, sad, blah blah blah, whatnot, and so I'm going to show a few tricks and a few techniques that I use to make them more effective and make the emotion that the person is feeling, or the story that the person is living through their emotions a little bit more obvious, a little bit more descriptive through sketching. And the second theme that we're going to approach is overlapping figures. So basically, we're going to try to draw full figures. So the first part, the expression part, is focused mainly on the face, although we're going to approach it a little bit from the body posture aspects, but we're mainly focusing on this part, the face. And the second subject is going to be figures, overlapping figures. So basically, your picture, you're in the streets, you have tons of people, you have a crowd of people around you, and you want to sketch a few of them, to register, to record the to record that moment where you were sitting in a cafe or something, and you're sketching the nice people around you, nice folks around you. And you're having trouble with perspective, with depth, and with overlapping figures. So I'm going to try to cover that. I'm going to try to give you some techniques on how to handle that, on how to effectively handle that, and that's just going to be pretty much the bullet points of this course. So expressions and overlapping people, in that you convey perspective and you convey depth to your sketch by, like, having smaller people in the background and like larger people in the foreground. Oh, I just did the reverse, because okay, foreground large people, background small people, and like middle ground and all that. So that's going to be it. This demo is going to be a small teaser of what we're going to talk about in the course, and we're going to focus a little bit. We're going to just do a couple of really simple exercises that will kind of prime you on how to sketch throughout the course. I'm going to try to show you in this demo how I see things, how I see objects, how I see people, basically. It's all about shapes, basically. Spoiler alert, it's going to be all about shapes. So we're going to do like a small exercise, a little bit like this one. And then we're going to do another one that has to do a little bit more with facial expressions and when to stop drawing and when to start painting. So I think without further ado, we can just jump right into it. Kitty?
Yep.
Do I have your permission?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Carry on.
Let's go. So what you're seeing here is my screen, and this is the reference photo. I'm not going to display it, so hopefully you will have the reference photo in your own device and to work from it. I'm going to show my tabletop, basically, what I'm doing. So you're going to see what I'm sketching, but just know that the reference picture is going to be this one. The sample sketches that I have here are from the whole gang. So this was a class that my mates, fellow sketcher mates, Pedro Alves, also Pedro. He was teaching this small cadre of students how to handle perspective. So you can see that this girl is really into it, and everybody else is just like looking around. And like they have different heights. They have different heights. In fact, I mean they're all different people. They're some are taller, some are shorter, but this low point perspective, this, like, I was kneeling down, I was crouching on the ground when I took this photo, and the effect that we have is that everybody has different heights. So this is one thing that we're going to have to deal with during the course, is people are different sized according to the distance that they have from the observer, that they are from the observer. And then we're going to have fun with her expression, because I think it's precious. All right, so let's just jump right into it. And here you can see my tabletop with all the messy watercolors. Oh, I'm just going to go through the materials that we're going to use. I actually have this promo. Now this is a promo moment. I actually have got this kit from Etchr. This is the black graphic pen collection, and it's really cool. I think we should have the ads sign over here in the corner right now. But this was what I used throughout the course. This is what I'm going to use throughout the course, actually. So I used mostly these pens, like number 5 and number 3 and number 8, I think, at times. But today I'm going to choose like this. Gosh, what you call it? This slanted. Sorry, I wasn't showing this
Chiseled?
kind of. Chiseled, yeah, exactly. I was missing that word. Thank you, Kitty. Chiseled pen, 2 millimeter chiseled pen, and because I think it has a nice expression and has like a really flowy outline. So we're going to use pens. You can use your faithful fountain pen if you like. I also have one of these here, or any kind of line maker. Even if you want to use like a mechanical pencil or a normal pencil, just as long as it makes a line, I'm fine with it. But like, I'm taking the opportunity to show you how these Etchr pens behave. Since while I'm at it, we're going to have, of course, paper, and we can go with inexpensive paper on the first exercise. So you don't have to go for a watercolor paper because we're not going to do any watercolor work here in the first one. In the second one, we're going to do some brush strokes, some watercolor brush strokes. So just have like one inexpensive sheet of paper or one inexpensive sketchbook with you. What I mean by inexpensive is like low grades, like thin sheets of paper are perfectly fine. And in the second exercise, we're going to use a little bit of watercolor. So here we go. I have this kit of watercolor. It's custom made, so these are all different brands. I'm going to use just one color. As you can see, this is what's it called? It's not Payne's gray. It's neutral tint, Winsor & Newton neutral tint. That's what we're going to use. We're just going to use like, I think I'm just going to use like one of these brushes, but I brought 3 of these just to show you. This is like a Chinese brush that I like a lot because it carries a lot of water and carries a lot of paint as well. And these 2 are by Etchr as well. So 2 Etchr products, one round brush, number 10, and one flat brush. I'm probably just going to use the round brush, but you know, like I'll keep the other ones handy just in case. Of course, paper tissue. It's already wet. Plenty of water. I have a water cup here, or water bucket here. And I think that's it. We have everything to go. We're set. I'm just going to go at it. And please do follow along, or if you like, just watch, sit back, enjoy the show. It's going to be recorded, so you can watch it later and practice. I'm just going to show you like a few tests that I did before this demo. Actually, I should like fix focus. Okay, so that it doesn't unfocus so much. Okay, this is going to be the final exercise. It's going to be fun. And for the first one, so that we don't take a lot of time, I just want to show you how I usually see things, because sketching is basically seeing. It's a way of seeing. The outcome, so the actual sketch, is just like the byproduct of actual seeing. This is how I see the world, so shapes. And then I just happen to translate these shapes into paper. But that's just secondary. The main thing is that I see the world like this. And I'm going to show you how effective this can be to your practice, to your sketching practice. Learning how to see is more important for sketching than learning how, like, the proportions and everything and all of that. Doesn't mean that doesn't mean that you skip proportions. It just means that you have to, I think in my opinion, you have to learn how to see before you jump onto that part. Otherwise, it may become overwhelming. So let's just jump right at it. And I'm going to, so there's 5 people in the reference photo. I'm just going to sketch a single line around the 2 leftmost people. So the girl is overlapping the guy in the blue shirts. And I'm going to have to deal with this. My brain is going to keep telling me that these are 2 people. You should draw them separately. And I'm just going to ignore my brain. So I'm just starting from her forehead, and I'm hoping to go around both of them, and going around until I come back to her forehead again. This doesn't mean that you have to start with the foreheads. It's just like a practical way to show it and for you guys to see. I think I should, sorry, I just have to move the phone a little bit, the camera a little bit, so that you see a little bit better. Yeah. All right, so as you can see, I just went from her forehead to her hair, and then I jumped from one figure to the other seamlessly. And this is like the most important lesson of this demo. That's it. You can all go home now. No, don't go home, please. But this is her elbow, as you can see. It may feel a little bit abstract at first, but as you progress, you'll start to see that everything fits together. This is his sleeve and now his hands. But because now I'm following along his outer contour, and I'm not going to sketch his whole hands because now I'm seeing his pants, his legs. So I'm just going to go down his legs, trying to size it more or less. I don't have to be really accurate. I just have to like grasp. like an appearance of what it looks like. See, I got to his shoe, and now I'm just going to jump over the fence again to her shoe, because that's what my eyes are seeing right next to it. So instead of going in and going detailing the guy first, I'm just going to shift from the guy to the girl, and from her right foot to her left foot. And now I'm looping around and going up her leg and horizontally in her skirt or dress. And now I'm going up. I am actually ignoring the third guy, because if I was going to do the whole gang, I would just go down here because my eyes found another leg. But I'm just going to ignore the fact that he's there, the third guy is there, and I'm just going to go up her skirt. Oh no, that sounds really bad. Anyway, sorry. You got my meaning. She has something hanging from her wrists and from her hands, which I'm not going to draw individual fingers, because I'm seeing the shape of her whole hand. And now I'm seeing the sketchbook that she's holding, up and left and up again, chest, neck. Now I'm getting some hairs over there. Not going to detail them that much. It's just like the overall shape. And back to her forehead. So the whole journey, I think she's like tilting a little bit. They're tilting a little bit to the left, to the right, but that's okay. If they're standing like this, they will probably fall. But it's just like I wasn't like on top of the sketch because of the camera here. Anyway, please excuse me for that. But this is usually how I see things, and this is usually how I go about nailing shapes down, basically. And you can do this to everything. You can do this to so I just did this with 2 figures, and this just makes it so much easier. I mean, at least for me, it makes it so much easier to grasp a figure. And proportion wise, I think it's looking good. It might be a little bit off here and there, but I think it's more or less on the level. They appear to be like well proportioned. This is the heads, like the whole body is there. This makes sense for me, at least in my brain, that this makes sense retrospectively. And now, if I were to progress with the sketch, I would just have to basically do all the details. Just go in from here, spiral in, and do all the details. Because right now I have a frame, and I have everything under control. I have the shape under control. I can just like spiral in, do the details of the head, do the details of the face, and of the hands, all the fingers, blah blah blah. So this is just to establish like a sort of control over these 2 figures. I have the shape, now I can just spiral in. I'm actually seeing that I could like sketch this negative space here. Bam. Now you can really immediately tell that there's an arm there, and that there are 2 heads there. It's hazy, but there are 2 figures there. And you can just like keep on going with details. Like if I were to keep on going, I was just like, okay, now let's go inside and do her jawbone and her ear and whatnot. And this is in fact another shape. So it's just like capturing shapes over and over and over and over again until you have every single shape in these figures nailed down. It's like this, just as an example, these 2 shapes, her face and her arm and hands. Oh, there's a watch there. And there we go. We make ends meet, and that's it. You start to have a resemblance of something. And now it's just about like, for instance, the sketchbook. The sketchbook and the hand holding it. It's just a matter of grasping these shapes and puzzling them together to make like this overall puzzle that is comprised of all these shapes, all these tiny shapes. One big shape first, and then all the tiny shapes afterwards. Should zoom in a little bit. What do you think? Yeah, maybe Yeah, like this. It's a little bit better. So this is exercise number 1. So you can have fun with this. This is something that you can apply in any situation to any subject whatsoever. So it can be people, it can be household objects, it can be architecture, it can be whatever you want. Everything is comprised of shapes. And if you can break the shapes down to like one single overall shape and then tiny shapes that make the whole puzzle, then you are actually seeing those objects. You are looking at them instead of just like picturing, in your mind's eye, what does a face look like, what does a book look like, and that way you'll be sketching from the mind and not with your eyes. Your eyes do the sketching, not your brain. Basically, that's the message here. All right, so just like one quick example. I think I'm just going to use the Chinese brush, Chinese calligraphy brush, because I'm just going to go large with the figures. You can now switch to watercolor paper. I actually did this first sketch on watercolor paper, so I can just like do them side by side. But what I want to demonstrate here is that you can also do this with a single brush, a single stroke of watercolor, or a couple of brushes, strokes of a brush. And one, just by using one color, I'm just going to use neutral tint, which is like this nice neutral gray that acquires the characteristics of whatever color it meets. So let's say that I'm sketching her head. Now I'm sketching the head of the guy next to her. I'm sketching her arm, but it's a whole shape, right? So this is her neck, and this is her chest, and this is the guy's arm. And you can go down from there. Just pick up a little bit more color. You can go down from there. This is his leg. You can see you can really make some progress with a thick brush. This is her shirt. Skirt or dress. Feet. Both feet. And all we're missing is the sketchbook and her hands. So you can see this was really quick, much quicker than the line work, and this just gives you an idea how to see shapes with the brush, with the help of a brush. So it's much quicker, but a little bit more complicated because you don't have like contours or anything. You're kind of sketching both contours at the same time with the brush, instead of just doing like let's say this. This was like 4 strokes of the pen, but this can be 1 stroke of the brush, like this, or a couple of strokes, let's say. It's much more economical time-wise, but like you don't have a lot of accuracy with the brush, or you have the accuracy that you have. So this is just to demonstrate a couple of techniques to show you how I see shapes around the world. In the real world, I mean. So this is exercise number 1. So just sketching shapes of people, bundle them together. And exercise number 2, we're going to focus on this girl's expression. So this is to practice a little bit of what we're going to handle when we get when we're doing the expression sides or the expression parts of the course. So it's going to be how tiny changes in your sketch and how you sketch the different features of the face can make a ton of difference. Just like by sketching, but just like by adding 1 dot or 1 slight dash of watercolor and 1 slight dash of a pen stroke, tiny pen stroke, can make a lot of difference. Point in case, I want to show my 2.5-year-old son sketch that he did yesterday. So expressions are very varied, and human expressions are very varied, and you can get the notion of how many expressions you have, human beings can do, by going to your mobile phone, going to any messaging app, and just looking at the amount of emojis that you have available for you to chat. I mean, emojis are, and we're going to talk about emojis during the course, but emojis are so relatable in terms of that there's really simple designs that convey one expression, and there's like tons of emojis, so we use them all the time. Emojis, smiling emojis, maybe the most frequent, crying emoji, like angry emoji, and so on and so whatnot. Of course, we're not going to cover all of those expressions in the course, but we're going to cover a few of them, and we're going to see how very tiny differences in your sketching can turn a smile into a frown, or a laughter into anger and stuff like that, and also how you can make a smile into aging that person 20 years. That can also happen. But this is just like, just to see, just for you to see that. Now, my son's really into these figures lately. He's obsessed about these figures that he call gouches. It's a word that doesn't have any meaning in Portuguese, so I don't know where he picked that up. But we're calling it gouches. And this one is different from that one in that this one doesn't have a mouth. This one has a frowny mouth, but this one also conveys like a poker face expression. This one, it's kind of a smile. I do believe it wasn't intentional. I think he's just aiming for like straight lines, but like his inability to to physically draw a straight line is still like wonky. So it does all these kinds of different expressions just by like having just by randomly having mistakes. And we're going to see how some of these mistakes may transform in a human expression. So let's get down to it, and we're going to sketch this girl's expression. So again, just to show you, it's the girl on the right of the reference photo, and we're going to really focus in. So I'm just going to use watercolor paper on this one because we're going to paint it a little bit afterwards, and we're going to draw her a little bit bigger, like just taking the whole sheet. This is an A4 sheet, by the way. But you can draw a little bit smaller if you have like if you only have like A5 or any other kind of paper. Sorry. And the approach is going to be more or less the same. So I can, like, for instance, let's just take it down a notch. So instead of drawing the overall shape, I'm going to draw her face first. So the shape of her face, and then I'm going to do the hair around it. This is an approach that I usually use for faces, but it's pretty much the same process. So I get her overall shape of her face. You may notice that I went for the collar directly instead of going around the chin. Now adding the necklines and kind of replicating that wave of the hair already. And there we go. This is the shape of her face. This is all I can see from her face. Now, let's spiral in before we spiral out. Features. So you can see that she has one eye closed and the other one open. She's kind of gauging the perspective on the square that we were sketching. And usually, like, she's quite like, she's facing us full frontal, I guess. So her nose is going to be more like this. Her, like, I can like measure more or less that her eyes are going to be more or less aligned with this imaginary line that I'm doing, and a central vertical axis for everything else. But you can see, because I was the picture that I took was like from below, her chin is quite large. It's larger than it actually is. So if I was standing, her chin will be a little bit smaller. But because I was like crouching, her chin is much larger. So her mouth is going to be more or less up here instead of down there. So I just have to take that into account. Let's see, one eye, the other eye kind of open. and squinting, and partially covered by the hair, that hair wave, and the eyebrow, which is doing a lot of the heavy work here, the expression heavy work. And I like to include sometimes these loops around the corner of the eyes just to signal that the nose is starting there. And also my noses, the noses that I do, I usually like these diamond shapes. This comes a little bit from the my comic book influences. That's going to be also covered, a little bit covered in the course. And her mouth is actually really small because there's a lot of skin, a lot of chin around it. So we might be tempted to sketch a large mouth, but she's actually like compressing her mouth a lot, so that what she ends up with having is something like this. And I think we are quite close to being finished. Just like small wrinkle there. Be careful with the side wrinkles in the on the sides of her mouth, because she might age. Suddenly she might age like 10 years without you realizing. And then it's just a matter of wrapping it up with hair around the shape of the hair. Again, another shape. Another shape that might be a little bit feathery as you progress downwards, but as far as we're concerned as sketchers, this is a shape going down diagonally, and there you go. And that's her shoulder. I'm just going to leave that part alone. Sorry. All right. I could add a little bit of texture to it. For instance, like the hair could get a little bit of texture, and we actually covered this part of the hair in part 1 and 2 of the course, I think, that we did last year, where we can add like a few lines just to add this hint of texture. But one other thing that the course is going to that we're going to talk about in the course is what is the role of the pen of ink, and what is the role of watercolor in the portraits in a figure sketching. And the line is really there's a thin line between like having too much sketch and having too little sketch. I mean, I think ultimately you have to decide on what the right balance is for you. But let me just show you this. So there's not a lot of sketching here. I didn't sketch the chin line. I didn't sketch like the collarbone here, anything of the collarbone here. I just added like a few lines of hair just to give a little bit of texture. I didn't sketch all of the wrinkles around her eyes because she's like squinting and there should be more wrinkles. Actually, I think I can prolong the eye a little bit more. It felt a little bit short. All right. So it's an economical sketch. It's not very dense in information. And that's how I usually like to keep it. I usually like to keep it that way because like the rest of the sketch is going to have to be handled by the watercolor. So we should leave something for watercolor to work with. Otherwise, we'll just sketch and sketch and sketch, shadows and whatnot, and there's not going to be any role for watercolor in this portrait, which is also valid, of course, if you're aiming for a pen-only sketch. But this is not what we want to do. We want to practice a little bit. How far can I take drawing before I activate the painting part? And let's just grab a lot of paints, a lot of neutral tint here. You can use neutral tint. You can use any other color, like ultramarine is also fine. Ultramarine blue, as long as it's like a dark color that you can get like a good value gradient of it. It's going to be fine. Gradient, Payne's gray, indigo are also good options. Anyway, let's go at it and see what we can get. So at first, my brush is loaded with a lot of dark ink, or a lot of dark paints. Sorry, so very intense neutral tints. So I'm just going to go straight to the darker parts of the figure, which is like this shadow here on the hair, and the shadow here on the top, and the shadow in this loop of hair. and down here as well, close to her neck. There we go. These are the darkest parts of this sketch. And then we add a little bit of water to the mix, and we can start to do the mid-tones, which is the chin, the limit of the chin. Now we're talking. Now we're kind of sketching without doing lines. This is like making shapes without having lines, which is, of course, an option. And I can see that there's a shadow there that goes like around her hair. And there's a shadow here on the right side of her nose. And there, and there, and under the nose, of course. And over here. And of course, inside the mouth. See, not too much, but just enough. So now we turned a sketch, a bidimensional sketch, a two-dimensional sketch, into a voluminous thing, a sketch with volume. I can do the same work here because I feel that she's a little bit wide-boned. Anyway, but mostly I think it's done. It's like just adding a few dabs of paint here and there, just to complete the expression, to complete this shadow work here. Here we go. And maybe even give like a slight watery tone to the rest of the hair, just to differentiate it from the white of the skin or the light tone of the skin. And we can drag this pigment, water it down until we get to the collarbones. And there you go. I think it's more or less nailed down. It doesn't have to be really accurate or really precise. We just wanted to see how far could you take the sketch, and now, oh, this looks really weird. But I think when it dries out, I think I'm just going to add like an extra brushstroke of dark color here, just to have like a better outline for on her chin line. So conclusions that we can get from here. Maybe I could have sketched the line of her chin with the pen, because it felt a little bit lacking in terms of I need a limit here. It's the shadow is dark enough for me to add a line, or not. I mean, it's really up to you. Now that's the critical part. That's where you become an artist, is when you start making choices. You start making these choices of whether not to sketch or not to sketch, and to leave it to watercolor or not leave it to watercolor. But let's just compare it to the one I did before. Oh, I forgot about the sunglasses actually. But anyway, here we are. Here are the two side by sides. You can see that I took some liberties here with the sketch. I actually did the line work, the line work in the chin, which actually I think turns out much for the better, but I wanted to test it without. It's also the line in the collarbone I added, and I added a few more details. But you may notice that I was using a thinner pen. I was probably using like 0.03, the 0.03 pen, which is a little bit thinner than the one I was using right now. The one I was using right now is a little bit thicker because of the chisel, and that means I get more line. I get a thicker line, and I tend not to sketch as much. So here I wasn't so much worried about like saturating the sketch with detail because the pen was really thin. So all these matters, these tiny differences matter. The pen that you use, the brush that you use, the amount of color that you use, and also what you are seeing at that very moment. Do you see this shape? Do you see this line below her chin or not? It all depends on your disposition as well. So that's the artistic part of the process. I can even add I added this part. Actually, I forgot about this. I can add this part, and we're also going to tackle this in the course, negative space, or let's just have like a shape of dark paint here, just to outline the contrast a little bit more. So now we have a more powerful image just because we added this dark background here. Suddenly the contrast here becomes much greater, and the image eventually, when it dries out, eventually the figure is going to pop out a little bit more. And that's it. There's really nothing that I want to talk about further. Hope you guys liked it. Let's jump into the questions and whatnot. So let's just put the results up here. So overlapping of figures and in human expressions. That's going to be like the major two of these of this course. Just zoom out here so I can see the whole picture. Yeah.
So yeah, if anybody has questions for Pedro, please put them in the chat in all capital letters so that I can see them better. Well, actually, you know what? We're mostly doing questions now, so you don't have to capitalize them. Yeah, so go ahead and put those into the chat. And just a reminder to stay to the end because we do have a postcard giveaway. They're 100% cotton, and they're just really lovely to make any kind of art on. Pedro, let's talk a little bit more about the course.
Yes.
So it begins next Tuesday, May 14th at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And you can find the link scattered throughout the chat and also in the description underneath the video. And also, I put a link into the chat for Pedro's other classes, including the 2 courses that came before this one. And I want to point out that while this is a series, they are standalone courses. So if you already have some experience with drawing figures, you can benefit from taking any one of them or just this one as a standalone course. Let's see, Pedro, what else can we say about the course?
So that it's going to be, I'm going to pick up on what you were saying, that it's going to be, so it's basically a continuation of everything that we've discussed in part 1 and part 2 of the figure sketching course. It's a little bit more intense in terms of, it's more for intermediate artists, but I'd like to think that there's also stuff for beginners here, there. Just as I mentioned, like this shapes thing. This shapes business, it's going to be, there's going to be stuff like that. So, but there might be a couple of exercises where like beginners may feel a little bit intimidated. Worry not, it's all right to make mistakes. It's all right to practice. It's just like the issue here is practice. And but you know, like it's aimed a little bit more to intermediate artists, and you know, like people that did the other 2 parts of the course will. It's like watching a trilogy and just watching part 3 and realizing that I'm missing some pieces here. Maybe I should go back, you know, like all that. It's not exactly because there's a story of its own and there's like loads of information there, but at the same time, you might have to like go back a few chapters and see what went on in part 1 and 2. What else can I say? It's going to be every Tuesday from now on until we get to. Oh wait. Sorry, I think there's something in the back there. Kitty, just give me one.
Yes, absolutely.
Like 1 minute.
Yep. So in the meantime, I'll answer some of the questions that have come up here. So let's see. Where would a beginner start with the classes? So if you're interested in figure drawing, I would start with the first course for just fundamentals of figure drawing. I'm going to drop the link to Pedro's other classes into the chat. Let's see. Is it okay for someone who can use watercolors and pens but never drew human figures? Pedro, I'm going to throw that over to you.
It's not ideal, but I think actually that's interesting. That's interesting because you know, like there's a usual path that you follow to start drawing figures. And I'm wondering what would be the result if someone just like jumped into the expression part without going without going through the skeleton part or the proportions part or whatever, that person would have like a different education from all the others, from most of the artists. That would be fun to see. So
sometimes going backwards is really beneficial, because you really start to realize why you need fundamentals.
Yep.
And where you're basically what you're struggling with. So you can make notes of, what you're not getting, and then go back to either the first course or the second one to pick up those details.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's no particular order in this, because it's like all different compartmentalized subjects. I think it's just like might be a little bit more challenging, but you may come out of it with a different outlook on how to sketch people. Not really sure, actually. That might be a fun experience. Actually, I also have to share that, like, for instance, I wasn't artistically educated in the sense of like fine arts or anything. I was like in architectural school, and we didn't have a lot of like drawing education. So my sketching came from comic books mostly, or from copying comic books and everything. And then I kind of went back to the fundamentals and took art classes and whatnot as an adult. After like architectural course, and like in the end of the architectural course, we had some more academic fundamentals of drawing, but I didn't get the formal education that an artist has, which may relate to that person, to the person that was asking that question. It's like, is it all right to go too forwards, and then is it all right to do this and then to step backwards? I would say absolutely, because that's what I did. In terms, like, I had to pick up, like, in my early 30s, I had to like take watercolor classes and like to do the fundamentals. But I was doing watercolor before. I was just like doing it self-educatedly, like maybe ignorant on some parts, but also like a little bit freer on the other parts. So.
And I would like to clarify that in case I misunderstood the question as far as, is it okay for beginners? The first course, the first fundamental figure drawing course, that is for beginners. So if you've never picked up a pen before, that's a good place to start. Or if you need a refresher, that's a good place to start.
Yes, there we go directly to, I think we start with stick figures, basically. Just start with stick figures, and we go from there to skeletons to like articulated stick figures, and from there we progress. So that's like a very grassroots, like fundamentals route. This one is a little bit more, I think I can spoil it a little bit, just to show you, like, the first class would be something like, let's see, where is it? Sorry. Okay, so the first class would be something like, let me just like put the, whoops, not this one, sorry. The first class is something like this. So if this scares you, then maybe you should take the part one and part two before. But if this doesn't scare you, I mean, this like these just tiny dots. We're just doing like tiny dots and tiny shapes. And then we progress step by step to like more complex shapes, but we do it very step by step. So in one sense, like, you may not like immediately like the results that you get at the first attempt, but it might be an interesting route to just take this one and see how it goes.
And Pedro, this is a really good question. Any tips for sketching in a larger sketchbook without having to include lots of details?
Ooh, make a comic book out of it. Make small break the page down into tiny sketches. That's one way. So basically, you can do that. You can, like, in one like A4. I think the biggest sketchbook that I had was like one A4 landscape. A4 landscape. So you get like two A4s in one go. And I would never do like one single sketch. I think I never did one single sketch except for once, which was like a really large landscape. So that's one. You can break it down to smaller sketches, and you have like a kind of a comic book page of your day, and that's that day of yours. Or you go really large, but you use large tools. So you saw that I was using like a large pen on this newer instance of this expression of this girl. I was using a thicker pen because I wanted to test something different from the test that I did before, to see if it went a different way, and it did. So use a thicker pen and use a really large brush, and you don't have to add details because it's going to be a little bit more on the washy sides. So you scale the tools according to the the size that you have, basically. At least that's what I do. Of course, you can be like one of those really minute persons that you don't mind spending like 8 hours on the sketch. That's also fine. I know a guy, this Belgian guy, sketcher, who spends like 8 hours on like sketching a bridge, like one of those iron cast bridges with like loads of details and trusses and like all the structural details, and he does it with a really fine pen. And it's amazing, but I wouldn't have the patience for it. Personally, I wouldn't have the patience for it. I will just like go at it with a big brush and like just finish in half an hour. So it depends. It depends on what you want to do, and if you are, what kind of person, what kind of artist you are.
Great. Let's see. I'm not seeing any other questions, I don't think. Let me just scroll back and make sure. Yep, I'm not seeing any more questions. There is a comment here that's funny. My younger son could draw recognizable superheroes when he was in nursery school, and I can assure you he knew nothing about skeletal structure. Of course, he wasn't all that accurate.
Nice. Accuracy is overrated.
Yeah. Has more character.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's another comment saying, "Oh no, 8 hours. That's a piece."
Yeah.
That's not a sketch. That's a piece. Definitely.
Yeah, I can't think of the guy's of that Belgian guy's name. He was already an older guy, like 60s or 70s maybe. Anyway, he was like, he is something else. He's still going at it.
Let's see. Okay, so I'm not seeing any more comments. Again, the course starts next week, Tuesday, May 14th at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You can find the link in the chat as well as in the description underneath the video. And go ahead and stay to the end because we are going to do our giveaway. But before we do that, I am going to drop into the chat a link to our feedback survey. We would love to hear what you thought of today's demo. This is how we know what you want to see from us. So I'm going to put that into the chat there. All right. Oh, this is a really good comment. We already have photography. Let's be creative.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Leave realism for photography.
Right. Okay, so I think we can go ahead and do our giveaway, and that is for, let me bring us both back here. 1 second. There we are. Hi again. Okay. So this is how we are going to do the giveaway. I'm going to ask you to type a word into the chat, and it's the word dream, just D-R-E-A-M. And we have to use a word that has not been used in the chat. That's how we figure out who is an entrance and who isn't. Okay, so go ahead and type the word dream into the chat, and then we will spin the little wheel, and we'll have our winner.
Nice. Dream,
and I'm going to count to 20. And once we're done, we're done. Okay, so
I think you have to type it with minor case, just for the people that they're for, or it doesn't really matter.
You know, I don't know. So if you've typed dream in capital letters, please retype it in lowercase letters. Or if you started it with a capital letter, please type it in all lowercase. This is the first time that I'm using this feature, so that is a good question to find out, Pedro. Thank you.
I was just thinking might be something that the tool is sensitive.
Yeah,
to.
exactly. And if you put in a couple of different ways of writing it, it's fine. It'll still just capture one of them.
So many people.
Yep. All right, because I was blabbing and people are still typing, I'm going to go ahead and start counting again. I'm going to count to 10 this time.
Yikes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to type stop in the chat. And after the word stop, no more entrance. And then I will go ahead and share my screen. Give me 1 second here. And I will, oh, that's odd. It's not linking up any of the entrances. Okay, let me try this again. Hold on a second. Sorry, everybody.
I don't know if the hashtag does a little bit of difference or no.
Do we need the hashtag?
Maybe.
Oh, okay. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, everybody. Learning curve here.
Yeah. It's going.
I am so sorry. Type it with the hashtag because it looks like that's what the issue is. That was not part of the instructions. It just said type in a word.
Hashtag, everybody,
Yep.
hashtag dream.
Yep, now it's working. I'm seeing people. Yep, okay, cool. I'm going to wait a good minute or so because I want to make sure.
And I think you can just like type once and it's going to just count you once basically, right?
Yes, yes.
Type more times,
even if you type it correctly 100 times, it's just going to count everybody once.
Cool.
Even with this little hiccup, this is so much smoother when I had to like have a number and scroll through and start looking for the number.
And you can see the entries piling up. Yay.
Yeah. Have they stopped? It looks like they've stopped. We can all start typing numbers. No, please don't. Please.
No going back.
I'm not seeing any more. Oh, there's another one. Okay, now I'm going to count to 10 before I spin the wheel.
Yay.
2, 4, 5.
I hope there's some kind of roulette animation.
There is. All right, here we go.
9, 10. Draw. Draw. Oh, yeah.
Yay! Congratulations, Minerva. Awesome.
Nice. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Let me write your name down.
Confetti.
All right. And I'll give you the email address so that you can email us to collect your prize. So Minerva, go ahead and email hello@etchrstudio.com and just leave them a note saying that you were the winner of today's postcards, and just give them your your YouTube name. So make sure it says Minerva FM, and that way they'll know it's you. And somebody says, congratulations, the postcards are great. I use them for experiments and put notes on the back. Yeah,
that's
great
actually
idea.
a good idea.
Awesome. Fun way to draw. Yay. All right. Well, I think that is it for today. So, Pedro, any final thoughts before we go?
No, just go out and sketch. No words, just sketching.
Great. All right. And everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. And until we see you next time, make more art. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks for being here.